Hello. Welcome back to No Me Callo. I won't stay quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin, and today I'm coming to you with a topic that was born from a place so deep that for a moment I really questioned whether I really wanted to share it. But here I am, because there are things that if you don't say them, they consume you from the inside out. And if you do say them, they set you free. So today's episode is called Let It All Burn, que Arda Todo. And when I say that, I'm not talking about impulsive destruction or burning bridges just because, or acting out of anger without thinking. No. I'm talking about an emotional wildfire that shows up after years, months, maybe days of carrying something that's been splitting your soul in half. I'm talking about that exact moment when you realize with a clarity that hurts that what you were protecting was actually destroying you. It could be the relationship you kept holding on with, the excuse of maybe they'll change, that loyalty that was draining the life out of you, that silence that was suffocating you, that role that no longer fits you, but you force yourself to wear as if it's not tearing you apart from the inside. That version of you that doesn't exist anymore, but you keep trying to resurrect it as if it were the only identity you're allowed to have. And when you reach that point, that edge where you can't breathe anymore, where your hands shake from holding on for too long, where your skin can't handle one more layer of weight, that's when you finally say, you know what? If this has to fall apart, let it fall. If it has to break, let it break. And if it's going to hurt, let it hurt. And if it needs to burn, then let it burn. Because sometimes burning it all down is not destruction. Sometimes burning it all down is the only way to keep yourself from being destroyed. Sometimes a fire is a medicine, or sometimes the flames aren't here to punish you, they're here to free you. They're here to show you what you didn't want to look at, that you stayed way too long in a place that stopped being yours, that you outgrew the space you've been trying to shrink yourself into, and that your spirit is begging for a reset, even if it's losing what's familiar terrifies you. So today, I'm not only inviting you, I'm actually challenging you to step into that space with me, that space where we stop pretending, where we stop holding up what's been collapsing for years, where we stop justifying, where we stop being the domesticated version of ourselves and finally let who we really are come through. So today, we let it burn, que arda todo. So take a deep breath with me, a deep one from the soul. Inhale. And if you can, even for just a moment, let go. Because today, we're burning what hurts so we can make room for what deserves to be born. So you already know what to do. Get comfy, grab your coffee, your cafecito, your glass of wine, or your cold beer, and get ready to chismear with me. There's that kind of tiredness you can't see. And it doesn't show under the eyes. It doesn't make your hands shake. It doesn't leave visible marks. It's a silent one you feel in your soul. And that tiredness of carrying stories that aren't yours, of holding responsibilities no one asked you for, or even swallowing words that needed to come out, of ignoring wounds you never allowed yourself to look at directly. That tiredness is the most dangerous kind because it convinces you that you're fine. It tells you, I'll rest tomorrow, or I'll talk later, I'll deal with it eventually. But that tomorrow never comes, and you keep carrying and carrying and carrying. Whether it's the world, your family, your partner, your culture, it tells you, hold it together, don't make waves, don't say anything. Don't make people uncomfortable. Don't cry. Don't exaggerate. Be strong. Be good. Be loyal. And you, out of love, out of fear, maybe out of habit, you stay silent. And silent so you won't hurt anyone. Silent so you won't bother anyone. Silent so you won't cause drama. Silent to keep that fake peace, that peace that only exists when you swallow everything. But what nobody tells you is that silence builds fire. And that silence that looks calm turns into a room filled with gasoline. And all it takes is one spark, one phrase, one gesture, one moment for everything to burn. And when it burns with years of things unsaid. It burns with all the times you choose to stay. It burns with all the I'm fine that were never true. I know so many people can relate, whether they live there, they know someone going through it. So let's talk about the times many of us spent entire years holding on to a relationship that was already dead. But we convince ourselves we could still save it. We tell ourselves things like, he or she isn't a bad person. They've been through so much. They need support. I don't want to make them feel bad. I don't want to be that bad one in the story. And every time he or she said something that hurt us, maybe we stayed quiet. Every time they demanded more than we could give, we gave it anyway. And every time they asked for understanding, patience, devotion, we gave more, even if it meant emptying ourselves on the inside. And one day, and this happens without warning, you might be washing the dishes, hot water running, steam fogging up the kitchen, the same ritual as always, the same routine of every day, and suddenly a cup slips out of your hands. It falls to the floor, it breaks, and you do too. And right there in that silent moment, with the water still running, with pieces of ceramic scattered across the floor, you collapse. And it wasn't because of the cup. It wasn't because of the dishes. It was because of everything. That was your fire. And let me tell you something. That's always how it happens. It doesn't happen in a big dramatic moment, or it doesn't happen when everybody thinks you're about to explode. It tends to happen in the ordinary, in what nobody sees. It happens where your soul says, I can't anymore. And so many of us have spent our lives tending to ruins so others wouldn't feel alone, hugging shadows so others wouldn't feel cold, holding up structures that no longer exist, covering cracks with our bare hands so others could stay comfortable. But let me ask you something, a question maybe no one has ever asked you. Who takes care of you? Who holds your ruins? Who hugs you when you're the one breaking? Who defends you when you're the one who needs someone to say enough? Who listens to you, truly listens without asking anything in return? Because this isn't about being strong. It's about how we've been asked to be strong for far too long. And strength, when it isn't supported, becomes loneliness. And there comes a moment in life, and you know exactly which one, when you can't hold what weights you down anymore. When everything you hit starts pushing its way out. When your skin isn't enough to cover the pain. And that's where the fire is born. The fire that doesn't destroy the hurt. The fire that destroys to free. The fire that tells you you're not the same anymore. You can't keep holding on. You can't keep being everyone's caretaker while you bleed in silence. It's time. Time to let fall what you've been holding up. Time to release what no longer holds you. Time to let go of what is taking your life away. And if it has to burn, let it burn. If it hurts, let it hurt. If it breaks, let it break. And if you end up alone for a while, better alone than extinguished. Because sometimes burning it all down, it's not the end, it's the beginning. The beginning of you, the beginning of your truth, of your peace, and the beginning of a life where you are a priority too. And that deserves to burn. And there comes a point where it's no longer about being strong, it's about surviving, about staying afloat even when you feel like the world is pulling you down. About breathing even though everything hurts. About continuing even when you no longer know why. And maybe it's the job that consumes you and tears pieces of your soul away every day. Maybe it's the relationship that drains you and makes love feel like disappearing. The family that demands but never asks you, how are you? The friendships that only show up when they need something, but never when you're the one breaking in silence. The dreams that once shined but no longer belong to you, because they slipped through your fingers while you were busy holding up everyone else's world. Maybe you told yourself 1,000 times, if I try harder, if I'm more understanding, if I hold on just a little longer, if I swallow my emotions, as if your pain had to be hidden to avoid making others uncomfortable, as if your tiredness didn't matter, as if your heart was infinite. But it's never enough, never, because it's not you, it's what you're holding, what you're carrying, what's draining you until there's nothing left. And life speaks to you, little by little, with soft signs at first. Maybe it's a long sigh, sleepless nights, then louder, anxiety attacks disguised as I'm fine, tears that come out of nowhere, a fatigue that sleep can't fix, and eventually it screams. But we especially are experts at ignoring those signs, and you know why? Because burning the old means accepting that you're no longer that version of yourself who survived all those years like that. It means letting go of that identity you build around your pain. It's like when you ask yourself, who am I without this job that destroys me? Who am I without this relationship that no longer holds me? Or who am I if I'm no longer the one who carries everything, fixes everything, saves everyone but myself? And that question is terrifying, because right there, you meet yourself. The self you avoided, the self that hurts, the self that needs healing. So today, I want to tell you something maybe no one has told you, or something you've needed to hear for years. You are not obligated to hold anything that is breaking you. And you are not obligated to stay where you no longer blossom. and you are not obligated to carry what stopped being yours long ago. Sometimes the bravest, most loving, and most honest thing you can do to yourself is to let the fire start. To let it burn, whatever needs to burn. To let crumble, whatever no longer supports your spirit. And to let go of what never chose you. Because in the middle of the ashes, though you might not believe it now, you will be reborn from an authentic, lighter, more you. So I want you to imagine something simple for a moment. Something that seems ordinary maybe, but it's deeper than you think. Think of an old house. A house where you no longer live, where your footsteps no longer echo, where your laughter no longer exists, where your soul no longer fits. And yet, you keep it standing. You keep paying the bills like the electricity. You keep dusting. You keep checking that the roof doesn't fall in. You keep patching the cracks. And even though you no longer sleep there, even though it's no longer your home, and even though deep down you know it no longer belongs to you, and yet you return. A part of you keeps entering that empty house because it was important, because it represented something, because it gave you an identity that no longer fits. This is what we do with our relationships, with our beliefs, with stories we tell ourselves, with versions of ourselves that have outgrown us. And then comes a day, a quiet, almost invisible day, when you stop and you ask yourself, why am I still here? What am I trying to fix that's already dead? Who am I protecting if I'm the only one who's still bleeding? What am I avoiding looking at inside myself? And that day, that exact day, the fire begins. And the fire doesn't always come as an explosion. Sometimes it starts as a tired sigh, as a barely audible, I can't do this anymore, as a cry you've been holding back for months, maybe years, and the word you never said because your voice trembled, as the boundary you knew but never dared to speak, as that muffled scream that escapes as a whisper, enough. That whisper is the spark, the first fire, the first flame that reminds you that you're alive. And I want you to hear this clearly with an open heart. The fire doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to free you. Burning what no longer serves you is an act of self-love. It's an act of rebirth. It's an act of brutal honesty with yourself. It's saying to yourself, I will no longer abandon myself to make others comfortable. I will no longer stay silent to avoid inconvenience. I will no longer carry guilt that isn't mine. I will no longer accept crumbs disguised as love. I will no longer justify emotional violence in the name of love. And I will no longer dim my light so others can shine. And I will no longer lose myself just to avoid losing someone. Because when you allow that old house to burn, when you give yourself permission to release what's already rotten, that weights you down, that no longer resonates with you, something new begins to emerge. Suddenly, you understand you weren't the one who was broken. It was what you were holding on to. It was the old walls, the failing roofs, the stories that no longer define you. All of this is let it burn. Que arda todo. The moment you understand that sometimes you have to let everything catch fire in order to finally breathe again, to become yourself again, to be reborn in your own ashes, stronger, clearer, and freer. Some examples I feel many have lived through are a relationship that's already over, but you're still there. You stay because there's affection. You stay because you're not a bad person. You stay because you've built so much together that it's scary to take it apart. And you stay because, what will people say? You stay because starting over terrifies you. You stay because you still remember how beautiful it once was. And it hurts to accept that you're no longer those two. But inside everything has already caught fire. And you don't want to admit it. But you feel that every time you try to love the same way, you can't. And every time you ask yourself, why am I no longer happy here? Every time you smile just so you don't break in front of them or in front of yourself. Love hasn't gone away, but the path together has. And you know it. Your body screams it with insomnia, with silence, with knots in your throat. Your heart begs you to let go, even if your hands tremble. And sometimes loving someone means leaving. Sometimes loving someone means saying, I love you, but I no longer want to stay here. Or maybe it's a job that is draining the life out of you. You're the one who always says yes, the one who covers for others, the one who holds everything together, the one who stays when everyone else has left. The one who absorbs more than they can, more than they should, more than their soul can carry. The one who listens to stories of pain and then goes home empty, drained, with heart in pieces. And one day you wake up, you stare at the ceiling, you take a deep breath and you ask yourself, when did I stop living and start merely surviving? When did my job stop being a calling and became a cage? When did I normalize being tired, dim, broken? That day is the fire. It's the day your spirit says, I can't keep going like this. The day your soul, tired of carrying what isn't theirs, sparks the first flame to save itself. Maybe it's the family that loves you but hurts you. Because yes, loving doesn't always mean knowing how to love. Many love in their own way, but their way isn't always healthy. And sometimes it hurts, sometimes it controls, sometimes it demands, pressures, minimizes, sometimes it confines you to a role that no longer fits. The strong one, the responsible one, the one who always is available, the one who never says no. Until one day, with a trembling voice and a racing heart, you say, I love you, but I'm going to love myself too. And right there, something powerful happens. And the family doesn't break. It's the version of you that sacrifices without limits that breaks. And that day burns too. But it's not you burning, it's the expectations that should never have been yours to carry. And when something burns, space is created. And when space exists, light enters, air enters, truth enters. But rebuilding isn't fast, and I think we know that, right? It's not glamorous, it's not perfect. Sometimes it's not even pretty. Rebuilding is learning to be with yourself without feeling lonely. It's looking at your pieces of tenderness, not with shame, and it's crying for what you've let go of, even when you know letting go was the healthiest choice. It's walking without a map, without a hurry, without masks. It's starting from zero, but this time from authenticity, not from fear. And the stage after the fire might be quiet, but it's yours. It's where you rediscover yourself. It's where you learn to listen to yourself, where you begin to trust yourself again. And it's where you choose yourself, even if you never put yourself first before. It's where you start over, but this time as a person who survived the fire and decided to reborn. And before we close this episode, I want to leave you with a book that perfectly accompanies the process of burning what hurts in order to rebuild from a place that's more honest, more yours, more free. And the book is called Despegarse sin anestesia, Detach Oneself Without Anesthesia by Walter Rizzo. And this book talks about something we've all had to face at some point, detachment. Letting go of what no longer fits, what hurt us, what drains us, what steals our peace. But doing it without running away, without numbing ourselves. And Walter explains how we cling to people, relationships, expectations, and version of ourselves out of pure fear. Fear of being alone, fear of making mistakes, fear of starting over, fear of seeing ourselves without the roles we've been holding. And he shows us that true detachment isn't coldness, it isn't selfishness. Healthy detachment is freedom. It means I can love without losing myself. I can let go without destroying myself. And I can leave without stopping feeling. And one of the most powerful ideas in the book to me is that suffering doesn't come from love, it comes from attachment, from insisting on holding on what has already burned. And this book connects deeply with this episode because it really invites us to do exactly what it is, to let go without anesthesia, to allow it to hurt, to allow it to burn, to allow the fire to cleanse what can no longer live. So if this episode stirs something within you, if you're letting go, if you're in the fire, this book can be like a hand on your shoulder saying you're not alone. So today, I want you to take this with you, and not just as words, but as a reminder to imprint it in your soul. Don't be afraid to let burn what's already consuming you. Holding on to what hurts doesn't save you, it dims you. It makes you small, and you weren't born to live in someone else's ashes. And sometimes what's lost isn't a loss, it's a liberation. It's the universe telling you, not this way anymore, even if it hurts, even if everything inside you trembles. Letting go isn't always abandonment. Often it's respect, it's maturity, it's self-love. And what burns is what you no longer need, what no longer resonates with you, what's held you back, hurt you, made you doubt your worth. The fire doesn't make mistakes, it only consumes what was already broken, what was already shadow, what no longer has a place in your new life. And you deserve to be reborn. You deserve a life where you don't have to beg for love, where you don't have to justify being tired, where you don't have to be strong all the time, where you can breathe without fear, love without pain, walk without your soul feeling heavy. So in the description of this episode, you'll find the Amazon link with the full list of books mentioned on No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet, from the first episode up to today. And don't forget, a new episode drops every Friday. So the next episode is called Espacio y Tiempo, Space and Time. And I want to talk to you about something that's rarely spoken about, but we've all felt. That moment after the fire, when you let go, but you still don't know how to inhabit your new life. So next week's episode comes from that strange emptiness where the pain no longer burns, but you still don't fully understand who you are without what you let go. That uncomfortable silence that also opens up possibilities. That pause where for the first time you hear yourself without noise all around. In this episode, I share how I'm learning to give myself space without guilt, to allow myself to rest, to feel, to exist without saving anyone. So I want to talk about time as an ally, not as pressure. Time to breathe, to honor who we are, to discover who we are, to open ourselves to what's coming. This episode is a hug for those who are rebuilding, for those caught between the no longer and the not yet. For those who need to remember that healing isn't a race, healing is giving yourself permission. It's an invitation to inhabit yourself again, to listen to yourself, to find your own rhythm, and to discover that sometimes all we need is a place where we can truly be ourselves. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for opening your heart, even when it's full of cracks. Thank you for daring to look at what burns, to recognize that something inside you is asking for change, for air, for light, for truth. And that act is pure courage. And if today your world feels like it's on fire, and if you feel like everything is collapsing, the ground shaking, that you don't even recognize your own life, breathe. You are not failing. You're not losing. You're not alone. You are transforming. And sometimes transformation begins at the exact moment you feel the most fear. The moment you say, I can't take it anymore. The moment you dare to let go of what was breaking you inside. If everything is burning, let it burn. Let it burn without asking anyone for permission. Let it burn without guilt. Let it burn without fear of what comes next. Because after the fire, always, and listen carefully, rebirth comes. And your rebirth will be beautiful. Reminder, throughout the month of November, every Friday you can participate in the No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet giveaway. We've already had our third winner, Edie's, who listens from California. Congrats. But you still have the chance to win a physical book from the ones I've recommended on the podcast, plus some extra gifts. To participate, it's super easy. Share an episode, old or new, on your social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and tag me so I can see it. You can also email me at nomecallowithjessica@gmail.com telling me your favorite episode or something you learned from this or any other episode. Comment on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music, and share which episode impacted you or made you reflect. Each action earns you one entry into the giveaway, so you can do it as many times as you want. The giveaway is open to everyone inside and outside of the United States. You have from today, November 21st, until Sunday, November 23rd, to submit your entries by 11:59 p.m. Central Time, and the winner will be announced on Monday, November 24th. Good luck. You've been listening to No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin. Until next time.